carded, you said? What it was?
Oh, no, not carded.
Like a facial hair. What were you asking for? She said, how old are you?
So I was coaching that soccer game Monday night before I went to Bible study, and it was like right before the game started. And I'll drink coffee a lot of the time just for like some caffeine so I can sit there and like focus on the game and stuff. And we go over there, and so it was a JV game, so it's like 8th graders, freshmen, and like it's mainly just them. And then the varsity players came to watch, and so they're 16, 17, 18, the kids I was standing with. Game's about to start, and I go over there, and I'm like, hey, do y'all have coffee? And she's like, what did she say? She said, you're way too young for coffee. And I was like, oh, well, okay. And then she, like 10 seconds later, said, how old are you? And I was like, 25. I told her I was 25. And she was like, oh, okay. And I was like, hold on. I was like, did you think I was in high school? Because I'm standing beside an 18-year-old, 17-year-old. And she was like, well, kind of, yeah. I mean, and I was like, I did just shave that morning, but then again, like I always shave. I can't grow facial hair. And so she thought I was in high school. And then I went back at halftime to go get a snack and a water. And she said, get your 16-year-old self over here, and just laughing, cheesing, just cracking on me and stuff. But she was like, hey,
funny.
In 20 years,
You'll appreciate that.
You'll be glad. And no, when I was in high school, I was like, I looked so young. And I had a buddy who was 19 when I was 21, or maybe he was like 17 and I was like 20 or something. And he could go in and buy beer. Like he just could. He was 6'3", 250 pounds, beard, all this stuff.
How old?
He was like 17.
Yeah.
And it was just, he just looked so old.
So
but now I'm like, that's whatever. I like it now. I mean,
that was me, man. Of course, the drinking age back then was 18, right? But I mean, I'm that kid who shaved his mustache for his 9th grade prom. Just careful what you wish for.
Isn't that crazy?
I remember because I used to use my dad's razor without the razor in there when I was 10.
Yeah, we had an
Went through the whole thing.
Hulk one. I remember using it at my grandma's house. But also, it's like now I have buddies, I'm 25, so I have buddies that now are like balding and stuff, and people think I'm still in high school, so I'm just like,
well, that's it, man.
Up,
we're balding earlier and
everything,
and that's what we're going to. How about fatty liver disease now in kids, right? How crazy is that? So, as a matter of fact, that's one of my big passions right now is the amount of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease that we're seeing today. So let's do a podcast on that one. We talked about it often. Again, one of these diseases that are of this generation. All right, so let's go. Sound good? Mm-hmm. Okay, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Flip the Script. And I'm here with my good buddy Cameron, Dr. J, Joey, and we're going to talk about a topic that I'm going to try to curb my enthusiasm on here. I can't promise because I'm seeing way too much of fatty liver disease today. And let me clarify, I'm talking non-alcoholic fatty liver disease today because as you and I were just talking about the way things have changed in the last 20 years. When I was a kid growing up in the late 70s and 80s, if you had fatty liver disease, you were an alcoholic, pretty much. Today's world now, this is what it's come to. 40% of adults have fatty liver disease. Yeah.
40%.
40%. 25% of children now already fatty liver disease.
Good grief.
Bad. So think about it, 40% of adults, if you've got 3 people in the room, certainly if you got 4 people in the room, one of you's got fatty liver disease.
Maybe 2.
That's right.
Maybe 2.
I mean, this is, yes, and for children to have it at this age. So what's going on, right? Are they alcoholics? No. So where's that alcoholic sugar coming from now? It's fructose in the diet. I know I keep beating this same over and over again, this metabolic disease, but brother, this is one that I am passionate about because personally what they've done is they have upped the numbers to where we start to recognize that we have an issue. And what I'm talking about there is the test, there's a couple of liver enzyme tests that your doctor can run. ALT being, to me, the most sensitive one. And I won't go through the long scientific name of ALT. Just think of it this way: ALT, always liver enzyme. There's another one, AST, but AST I like to think of it, sometimes it can be something else. So ALT is the one. So the old ALT number, if you were above 25 on that number, your doctor would say, hey, something's going on here. First question might be, how much alcohol are you drinking, right? But we need to keep an eye on this as that number starts to approach the 25 range. Well, since we got 40% of the population in the adult population now with fatty liver disease, what have they done to that curve of where we start to present a risk? They've upped it to 40 to 45% ALT. Think about what that is. It's a 40% increase that correlates directly with the 40% increase of the population now, right? So in a sense, what they've done is they've just upped the new norm. Why?
Yeah, it's like they're going off of, instead of what, I noticed they did the same thing with testosterone. That's actually where I noticed it first, is they're going and they're taking the average of what is today instead of sticking with what it should be.
Optimal.
They're not telling you what's an optimal range for
exactly.
ALT. Testosterone was, like I said, the first one I noticed, and it was like, how did the average of what's the board or panel, whoever, they decide what's supposed to be normal or whatever in America?
You take the population of our population today, right? They do the same thing with the thyroid hormones, the same thing, because as the population, the percentage increases, in a sense, sadly, dumb us down. Dumb us down and dumb the doctor down as well, because now we're not treating for prevention anymore, right? We're waiting until we have a full-blown issue,
right? And
now we're treating a chronic condition, typically with a medication, and a medication is never going to cure a chronic ailment.
Yeah.
And because it's a diet-related issue, which sadly most physicians are not astute in because they're not educated in their training, then we don't have an approach to resolve the problem or cure the problem, only to treat the symptoms associated with it. Which again is good for big pharma, but it's not good for the health of the average Joe. And the reason why I say this is I've literally got patients of mine who are coming in and telling me about family members dying from fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So it's hitting pretty close to home. And you know, Cameron, we were talking about this too. I'm going to tell this story about a month or so ago. Remember, we were talking before a podcast, and I said, out of the 4 days of that particular week, I had 3 patients come in diagnosed with fatty liver disease in that 1 week. And I can tell you, one of the 3 doesn't even drink alcohol, and the other 2 on occasion. And only one of those 3 actually had what you might consider a weight problem, which truthfully about 80% of the adult population has as well, right? But remember, this is non-alcoholic fatty liver, so this is fat on the inside, but not necessarily fat on the outside, okay? Yeah. So, and I mentioned that to you on Saturday. I said, hey, this was like the worst week as far as this fatty liver disease that I've had in my entire 30-something years. And I said, I hope I never see this again. True story. Monday morning, I come in, a patient of mine, he comes in to me, says his son diagnosed with fatty liver disease. Now, this kid had been a patient of mine since he was about 2 or 3 years old. He's only 19, had an ALT through the roof at over 70.
Dang.
Yes. Okay. So
that's
here I was.
That's almost triple of what it should be, or what's dangerous. Yes. 20. If you're going by the real numbers of 25.
Yes. Yeah. Right. The real numbers of 25. Yeah. True. 3 times. Double what today is. 19-year-old, non-alcoholic, overweight. Yes. The other one that touched home with me is my daughter's boyfriend. 20 years old himself, diagnosed with it. He actually had a friend of his say, dude, why are the whites of your eyes yellow? So he obviously didn't even pick this up himself.
Is that
right?
jaundice? What is that?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, good grief. Isn't that pretty late stage?
That's on down the road, brother, right?
I mean, that means it's been going on for a
But see,
Hey, Doc, you
Yes.
tell the boyfriend if you don't treat your daughter right, that's going to be the least of his worries.
well, and you know what? Yeah, fortunately, she's got a good one there, in my opinion. But yes, let him know that early on, Chris. Yeah, yeah.
I'll let that yellow get all of you.
So getting back to that though, this poor kid, he thinks now, he's really down on himself about the whole situation. He thinks, he's in a life-threatening situation, which, can be if not treated. Here again, he's young, a lot of fast food, works in a restaurant, so he eats a lot of the restaurant food there, and of course he also delivers pizza, so he gets a lot of his meals that way. Now let's get to this somewhat. So here I go. Remember, like I said, the week before I go, hope I never see that again. The very next workday, Monday, I've got a patient, 19 years old, through the roof, ALTs, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That really struck home for me because, again, that's 4 patients in 5 days, right?
Yeah.
So let's get real about this. Now, the other thing that was curious with me is I asked my patient, I said, well, how did your son's medical doctor, say they were going to go about treating this fatty liver? And to no surprise, because I knew this was coming, of course, it was a statin drug, cholesterol-lowering drug. And followed up with that he needs to lose weight. This kid in particular, yes. How to go about losing that weight and what foods he needs to avoid was not mentioned. Just simply he needs to lose weight. So, but remember, half of those 4 that were diagnosed did not have a weight problem, not in comparison to what we see today. 10, 15 pounds over, yes, but not what we would call obese. So for me, the statin drug is like, no, wait a minute, hold on, I got fatty liver disease. So I can understand that's their approach because they really don't have much in the way of the education of the nutrition. But, and we'll talk about where I go later, but when you look at a statin, cholesterol-lowering drug, these are actually toxic to the liver, okay? Because there is a detox pathway through the liver known as the cytochrome P450 pathway, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but let's just understand this. You have pathway 1 and 2 through that liver. And in between those two, you have an enzyme called coenzyme A reductase, which is a catalyst through detoxification through the first phase to the second phase. What does a statin drug block? That very enzyme. So if I'm blocking an enzyme that is necessary for proper liver detoxification, how can I call that liver-friendly medication, right? Actually creates a toxicity in its own right. So that's not my approach to this at all. I'm thinking more liver detoxification protocols, start with. Certainly milk thistle, because the damage has already been done, all right, in that protocol. And then we've got to cut out the cause, which, again, what we were talking about earlier, it's not alcohol, it is the fructose and the processed foods within the diet. So we got to come clean food.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not rocket science here, people. Again, we've eaten our way into this condition. We got to eat our way out. Correct?
Yeah, I mean,
yes.
I mean, the liver, that's its one job is, a filter, right? And so if it's having an issue, you would think the only way to do it would be to detox it because it's trapping everything bad in the body. And it's like okay, you have, like you said, you had the liver and you had this
Which is a filter.
filter, right?
Yep.
And in there, there's a pathway, like you said, point 1 to 2, A to B, whatever, and it's got this thing in the middle, like a little messenger or whatever.
Yep.
Rail car to
Catalyst.
take it, catalyst take
Yep.
it, like a train taking it from one point to another, and that train gets stopped. They just cut it in half, the railroads, with that statin drug.
Blow up the track.
Right.
Bingo.
I mean,
Good point.
It's common.
Good.
It's common sense. It seems.
That's right.
It's
I know. Here we
weird.
go. It's common sense, right? Hello.
But
a lot of them not familiar with that detoxification pathway
I
through the
think-
liver.
I think it goes back to that, the schooling, like you said, they're not learning this stuff because if you look at the funding from a lot of these medical schools, it's from big pharma. And so if you don't think they have influence, then you're being naive.
Well,
you know, I mean, it's
and we're pushing a very, very powerful medication there, which is basically in every household today, right? And the answer for everything. Well, of course, now we're looking at the liver, so of course they're thinking, okay, well, we're going to lower the triglycerides, not triglycerides, but total cholesterol. I'm sorry, total cholesterol and the LDLs, blah 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 blah, which in their opinion is causation of the elevated cholesterol, which again we know is in the diet as well. All right, so let's not beat that one. We've talked about that one enough, and we'll get into that later. But what I want people to understand here is that this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease now is the leading case of liver transplants today.
so outbeating alcohol-induced cirrhosis,
And
hepatitis, everything.
That's right. That's how dangerous this situation is, and that's what we've evolved to.
And that's
Evolved
like
to.
strictly diet induced.
Now, if we've got 40% of the adult population with fatty liver disease, and this thing continues to manifest, are we going to have enough livers out there, donors, should I say?
I mean, it's good that you can get a partial. I mean, yeah,
Right? What happens when we start running out of donors?
yeah,
Let's hope not something evil, But
yeah.
So again, I mean that's pretty scary. This is where we are. This is real, people. This is where this is, and again, we got to get a hold of it because it's part of our generation. So much so, and but here too. Again, my protocol. I want to touch on something here that I found scary. Not surprising, but definitely a recent mind-blowing statistic that I heard within this past week. Make sure I get this right. But greater than 95%, so actually in the study, it was around a 97% of all food sold in our grocery stores today, I'm talking Publix, Albertsons, Piggly Wiggly, it makes no difference, wherever you're shopping at, 97% are what are considered not real foods. Now, does that blow you away, dog? Yeah.
Not me, but
Yeah.
the average person,
Right?
yes, it would. Yeah.
So basically, 2 to 3% are real foods. The other 97% processed in some form, GMO'd, but not God's given food. So what are we talking about here? Meats, for example, but uncured. Again, most meats are cured now, right? Okay, that's chicken, fish. Sadly, some fish is farm raised. Eggs. They're even messing up our eggs today, bro. Besides the fact that they're through the roof cost-wise, right? But these are what is known as real food. Also, vegetables. Not GMO. So again, they're messing with that. So now we have a non-real food again. So you see why, if you think about this in reality, yes, 2 to 3% of what we are able to shop in our daily shopping spree at these food chains are not real food. So we're not 100% at blame for this because this is what Big Food Congress has given us as an option. And of course, they're marketing on television, which hopefully Bobby Kennedy and the gang will be able to clean up some of this mess as it's presented with this information to Joe and Jane Public, should I say. So, again, it's also, I'll give you another example. We are infiltrating the rest of the world as well. You and I were talking about this, about the blue zones, right?
Yeah.
So Costa Rica, one of my favorite places that I've been over the years, I went back down last year, and I hadn't been there for a few years, 5 or 6 years. I was blown away because I go into this little village, beachside surf town, where everybody was high energy and the blue zone type people eating off the earth. And I was amazed by this. There I found fast food restaurants, American fast food restaurants. And then I started correlating. I noticed there was a lot more of the general population than I had ever noticed starting to show obesity. Weight-related issues, which is common in any country that we bring our fast food and our Western diets into. You start to see the demise of the health-related issues associated with food in these countries, to the exact proportion or rate by which ours is. You'll find the same thing here. Took a motorcycle ride with some of my buddies about 5 or 6 years ago out west and out in Utah. Salt Lake City, boom, fast foods everywhere. Weight issues just like you see here in Alabama, Mississippi, same correlation. Get outside of that major city, get into some of those smaller towns. People are fit, healthy, eating off the land. I noticed this, and I found it very interesting. We had to drop back into Salt Lake City to drop the bike off that I had rented, and we were back in reality again, and the population again was 80% weight issues. So it's part of the metabolic problem that I'm preaching about over and over again. 80% of all diseases associated in this world are related to it. We ate our way into it. We've got to find the knowledge to eat our way out because it's on now. It's real. And at this rate, sustainable, I don't know. I said this before. If we started this 200 years ago, we would be extinct as a species, perhaps today. So, people, get your ALT, your liver enzymes tested, because remember, you don't have to be overweight to have this issue going on the inside. And know that it is the elevated processed foods within our diet, specifically, primarily fructose, which they're putting in everything. So my wish for you is get this checked, find you a doctor and understands, and learn yourself, because within your knowledge comes your power. So you're going to have to create this power yourself through the knowledge. My treatment protocol, my clinic, first place, liver and kidney detox, adds in some milk thistle. Know that we got to pull the processed carbohydrates out of the diet. So I'm thinking, again, make it simple. It's not rocket science. If it doesn't have a label, it's probably good for you. So let's think along that line. Again, keep it to the vegetables. Keep it to the proteins. Reverse this condition before you become a statistic. So, you want to add anything to that, brother? Because I know it's a lot of information. I'm sorry, I get a little passionate about this one because it's one of those things that we can make a difference with the knowledge. Change our ways before it's too late. So, let me say, for Cameron and myself, thank you for taking the time to spend your day and your energy with us. Hope we found something here that you can use and maybe a little bit of entertainment along the way. Excuse my enthusiasm on this one. So until next time, have yourself a great day so that you are
Not missing one.
attaboy. Thank you, brother. Until next time.